This operation promises to provide an economic boost to the region while attracting additional tourism to our state's thriving bourbon and spirits industry and creating good job opportunities for Kentuckians. The jobs created through this Phase 2 investment include hospitality, event operations, and restaurant and distillery operations. The Homestead Bed and Breakfast, located on the campus, opened earlier this year, and company leaders anticipate the first spirits will be available in the weeks ahead. They ought to consider us for that. With plans to unveil a tasting room, amphitheater, restaurant, and event center later this year, Logstill's vision for its campus is impressive, and we're proud they chose Kentucky for this great project. Tourism is nearly a $12 billion industry in Kentucky, and the spirit companies invested more than $300 million in the state in 2020 alone. Logstill will contribute to growing both of these key areas for our state's sustained success that are going to help build a better future for families in Nelson County and the surrounding region. I want to thank everybody who had a hand in this project, from local officials to Economic Development Cabinet to Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet. The project's a true team effort, showcases Team Kentucky. It's going to pay dividends, bring people to our great state for years to come. Thank you, Log Distillery, not only for starting this great endeavor, but for believing in us and for increasing your presence. And I just want to say, don't stop here. Feel free to keep expanding. I know that there is even greater opportunity out there. All right, another piece of good news. So as you all know, we have had a lot of renter eviction funds, assistance to renters and landlords for people who are behind on their payment to try to keep people in their homes, again, so that we can be healthy at home and no one is kicked out during this pandemic. But the question has always been asked, well, what about homeowners? Well, the Commonwealth's going to apply tomorrow when the U.S. Treasury opens its portal for states to receive funds for the American Rescue Plan Act Homeowners Assistance Fund. Kentucky will receive a total of more than $85.4 million for the Homeowners Assistance Fund, with 10% coming from the federal government, hopefully in the near future as a first allocation. We know Kentucky homeowners need help too, because they have sought help from the Team Kentucky Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Fund that provided relief to renters and landlords. This is going to help those that own their home but have gotten behind. Again, this is something that's exciting that we've been waiting for, and it's going to help more Kentuckians. We'll have more on that once we start receiving the funds and more details on how the program has to work. Third piece of good news. I'd like to recognize a growing Kentucky company that's creating quality jobs in an area that has been in search of new economic opportunities for a while. Simpson County-based Worldwide Technologies is expanding its footprint in our state with a new facility that'll be located on Tech Way in Greensburg. The new facilities will create 25 jobs in South Central Kentucky with a $1.42 million investment. The project will allow the community to better serve its customers in Kentucky and throughout the United States. Worldwide Technologies produces a variety of machined parts. It's a company that touches a number of industries and represents the type of diversity we strive for in our manufacturing base. Founders Kenny Whitworth and Mike Jones began the company 15 years ago in Bowling Green before relocating to Franklin in 2010, where the company has shown tremendous growth over the past decade. The company has become an integral part of Kentucky's manufacturing sector, which has over 4,500 facilities, employing over 260,000 Kentuckians. It's a great project for the company and for the state as a whole, and it's going to play a vital role in the continued growth of Greene County and the surrounding region. So thank you to the leaders of Worldwide Technologies for your continued faith in our state. And again, don't stop there. Continue to expand. One last piece of what I think is good news. This afternoon, I am releasing not only my ethics disclosure required under state law, but for the 5th straight year, releasing my tax returns. It's something that I believe every elected official has a duty to do so that you know where we make our money, so that you know if we have conflicts, so that you know if we're committed to transparency and showing you what you deserve to know. Again, for 5 years, I've done this, became the first attorney general to do this every year I served. And at that time, and for the last 5 years, I've called each of those years on every other constitutional officer, every legislative leader to do the same and release their returns. To date, only one has been willing to do that, and that's Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman. Not only is she my partner in governing, but also in our belief in ethics and transparency. So thank you, Lieutenant Governor Coleman. Again, to everybody else, this is part of what you sign up for when you run for office. Releasing your tax returns is the very least we owe to the taxpayers of Kentucky, to those we serve. They deserve to know where our money comes from. As a preview, mine are going out. You will find them incredibly boring. It has my salary as governor. It has some dividends from a bank, and it has what looks like gross income that's from conversion of a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. That's about it. Again, it's pretty vanilla, but it shows you that basically all of my income comes from serving you. All right, let's look at vaccinations today. Remember, we are in a race against these variants. We have to vaccinate and as quickly as possible. I'd also remind you that we think this data is a couple days behind, as we are still getting information going back to really last Friday when we had to upgrade our security in the health information exchange system. And one of the largest reporters took time to do that, and we are still receiving their information. But I think good news today. Yesterday, we passed a good mark, but today, 1,622,924 Kentuckians have received at least their first shot of hope. That represents 16 and over, 46% of our population. We're almost 48% vaccinated 18 and over. But more than that, remember we put out the vaccination challenge where once we reach 2.5 million Kentuckians vaccinated, that'll be 70+% of all adults, we'll be able to remove all capacity restrictions on businesses and venues up to 1,000 people. That means big weddings. That means normal funerals. It means restaurants that can come to full capacity once we reach that goal, because that's the goal when we believe it is safer to do so. Science and math set that goal, nothing else. So where are we? We are, if we look up today's number, 877,076 individuals getting their first shot of hope away from getting to that point. That is a goal we can reach. And the question you might have is, how quickly can we reach it? Well, if you want to know how many doses, how many first doses are available today, in other words, if everybody would be willing to go out and sign up, doses available today, 499,735. We could get more than halfway of the distance left to get to our 2.5 million vaccinated challenge and lift restrictions this week if everybody would go out and sign up. The doses are there. This is all Moderna and Pfizer. And we'll get more than 150,000 doses next week and the week after. Folks, this is right there. This is ours for the taking. It all depends on us getting out there and getting vaccinated as quickly as we can. The power is ultimately in your hands, so let's get this done. And there are plenty of vaccine openings. So you've seen not only the amount of doses that are out there ready for people, here's where some of them are. U of L Health, Cardinal Stadium. I believe in the next week or so, we've got almost 10,000 openings. Think about how much that can help us get to our goal and how quickly you can sign up. If you're anywhere in the Louisville area, you can get in easily in the next 7 days. It'll take you less than an hour, and you got that first dose done. Kroger Health at the Kentucky Horse Park, over 1,000, I think it's closer to 2,000 appointments open in the next week. In Bowling Green, you want to reach this, you want, again, to eliminate those capacities in pools, in country clubs, and in so many different places, over 1,000 appointments available there. Corbin, Kentucky, over 1,000 appointments there. I remember reading a story about how tough enforcing the certain mandates were in restaurants and other places in Corbin. Listen, you can get the vaccinations right now and make it safe. Christian County, significant number of vaccinations and one of the lowest percentages of people vaccinated of any county in Kentucky. This will help. This protects you. Listen, COVID has killed 1 out of every 550 Americans. Get the vaccine. And finally, King's Daughter Pavilion. Again, over 1,000 available. So we talked before about how this Monday, U of L Health opened Kentucky's largest drive-through vaccination site at Cardinal Stadium. And let me tell you, it's nothing short of amazing. Staff from the hospital and the University of Louisville, a large contingent of Kentucky National Guardsmen are helping community volunteers, AmeriCorps, and others working to make sure it is easy and efficient for you. The entire process takes 25 minutes, 10 minutes for the shot, 15 minutes for being monitored as a precaution. They can vaccinate up to 4,000 people a day with Pfizer and Moderna, but they need you. We need more people to sign up. It's a massive undertaking. It's a way to very quickly work to defeat this virus. Here's a quick video to show you a little bit of what's going on, but also to ask you to be a part and get your vaccine.
This is one of the largest sites that we have in the state. It's the largest site that we've run at U of L Health, and we can run between 4,000 and 5,000 people a day through this vaccination site with very little waiting. We have hundreds of people here working, volunteers. We've got the National Guard here. We've got the Army here. We've got people from our hospital here working. AmeriCorps is here. And managing all those people, all the logistics of getting the vaccine where it needs to be, the pharmacy supply chain, it's daunting, but thus far we've done a fantastic job of being able to get this out. The biggest problem we've always had is limited availability of vaccines. That's what's really driven most of the restrictions to the vaccine process. Now we've got a huge number of vaccines. The supply's really opened up, particularly with Pfizer, and so that's about getting it out. So it's a completely different problem. Now we've got to get it out to the people that need it. The biggest worry I have right now is that we've got this huge site that we can do 4,000 and 5,000 a day, and we still have appointments that are open at the end of the week. And so I really want to get people out, and I really want to get people down here so that we can get this over with. We can lick this disease and get moving forward. I'm not sure it's as resistance as much as it's apathy. People have been at this for 18 months now, and they're just tired. And I think it's going to require just a little bit to be out and get this. It takes 10 minutes from the moment you arrive here to get the vaccine. It takes 25 minutes total. We have to watch you for 15 minutes. You spend more time being watched in your car, listening to the radio, than it takes you to actually get the vaccine down here. If we can do that and continue that for the next 7 or 8 weeks, we can get almost 200,000 people vaccinated during this period of time. I think we've got a window of opportunity here within the next couple months is where it's really going to make a difference.
As you can see, there are so many opportunities there. Incredible operation. You can sign up at uoflhealth.org or call 502-681-1435. Anywhere around Louisville, you are likely to be able to get an appointment even tomorrow or the next day. So if you've been putting it off, 25 minutes to become protected from this virus. All right, and getting protected from this virus is important. Again, we are watching very closely as the case count this week looks like it will be above last week's. We'll see how it compares to 2 weeks ago. And our positivity rate continues to creep up day after day. It is at least a warning that a fourth wave is possible here. We can prevent it. We should prevent it, but it requires people to get vaccinated and continue to mask up. Today, we have 834 new cases of COVID-19. 116 of them are 18 years old or under. Again, it's impacting more younger Americans and Kentuckians than ever before. Of that group, 47 are 16 to 18. 47 of those individuals are eligible to be vaccinated. So if you are 16 to 18, this virus is infecting people your age. And certainly what we are seeing is more hospitalizations nationwide to that under 50 group that we previously didn't see hospitalized nearly as much. When we look at our hospitalization, ICU, and ventilator numbers, they're a little bit down from yesterday, but they are starting to move up. We are seeing a trend of cases, positivity rate, and overall hospital numbers all going up, albeit just a little bit. Our positivity rate today, 3.45%. Think about how excited we were to be under 3. Yet we're ticking up and up and up. Now, the way we defeat this is vaccines. And I want to give you just one statistic to show you how incredible they are. Congregate settings, which is long-term care, jails, our state correction system, at one time made up 68+% of all our deaths. Obviously, long-term care was one of the very first areas we vaccinated. When you think about that, those started in December, really weren't complete until February. That's when the immunity really kicked in. In February, I think we were still up around 60-something% of all deaths being in long-term care. Today, 37.72. We have almost cut the overall percentage of deaths occurring in long-term care and congregate settings in half in just a couple of months because of these vaccines. They virtually eliminate death because of COVID. They virtually eliminate serious illness from COVID. I mean, these things are a miracle. Please go out and get them. They work. We can defeat this virus, but you got to get vaccinated to do it. Today, we're also reporting 17 new deaths. These all come from the local health department method, none from our audit today. The 17 include a 40-year-old man from Barron County that's younger than me. That's a February death. 61-year-old man from Barron County, February. 66-year-old woman from Bell County, April. 49-year-old woman from Caldwell County, April. 83-year-old woman from Clinton County, January. 89-year-old man from Cumberland County, February. 83-year-old man from Garrett County, February. 70-year-old man from Grayson County, February. 73-year-old woman from Henderson, April. 61-year-old woman from Jessamine, December. 68-year-old woman from Laurel, February. 63-year-old man from Madison, April. Look at how the April deaths especially are in younger Kentuckians than we are used to seeing. 68-year-old woman from Meade County, October. 85-year-old woman from Mercer County, February. 44-year-old woman from Eulenburg County, January. 56-year-old man from Pike County, January. And an 83-year-old woman from Whitley County. That was on April the 11th. We haven't had a memorial in a while. A reminder that everyone we lose, child of God, irreplaceable, missed by family, friends, and a community. And they're more than just a flag outside the Capitol. They're more than just a statistic. There's something special. And this loss of over 6,200 Kentuckians is something that none of us, when we look at our lifetimes, have ever experienced as a collective this large of a loss. So today we're honoring the life of Gil Scott, who passed away from COVID on Friday, March 26th. Gil was one of 9 children born and raised in Adair County, Kentucky. He moved to Louisville as a teenager, and he married his wife of 60 years, Mary. They have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. Family has always been his number one priority. He loved them more than anything. Gil also loved being outdoors. Didn't matter if he was mowing the yard or RVing with Mary or their dog, Harley D. He was just happy to be outside. He was great at pool and at cornhole, and could often be found playing a game of cards with his 3 kids and their families. Gil loved God and family and had a witty sense of humor and a knack for one-liners. Gil's life changed forever after the 2018 passing of his granddaughter, Detective Deidre. She went by Dee Dee. Minjado, and I know I mispronounced that. I went to Dee Dee's funeral while I was Attorney General, and remember the outpouring of support and also of grief for how special she was. She worked for the Louisville Metro Police Department, and his heartbreak from her death stayed with him through the years until his passing last month. Our thoughts and prayers are with Mary and the entire family that have now suffered way too much tragedy. We hope Gil is reunited with his granddaughter, and together they're looking down on you all. And if I can, for just a second, remember him back on how special he and she was. I remember the teachers from her son's elementary school all coming to be there to support him, and what a special kid he was. That's a great grandchild of this wonderful individual we lost. All really special people that touched so many lives around them. I know everyone is going to miss him, and we will all pledge to do better. Remember, these are the souls that we lose right now in the fourth quarter in defeating this virus. When we let up, we lose somebody special. And in this instance, from a family that's already suffered too much loss. Let's not let this happen to other people. Let's make sure that we do better each and every day. All right, now, a little bit of good news. This used to be one of the hardest parts every day, and it's become something I almost look forward to. Let's look at long-term care numbers for the day. 4 new residents, 6 new staff testing positive. Again, more staff than residents. That has only been the case since more residents got vaccinated than staff. This used to be 10 times the residents staff, and it shows you how these work even for the most vulnerable. And once again, 0 new deaths. These are the most vulnerable that this virus comes to prey on, and the vaccine is virtually eliminating death in this population. That is a miracle. That is a godsend, and it ought to convince all of us, every single one of us, to get this vaccine. All right, we're going to have a UI update today, but let me start by talking about how excited we are that we now have in-person appointments available all across the state. So 13 regional Kentucky Career Centers opened this morning. Ashland, Bowling Green, Covington, E-Town, Hazard, Hopkinsville, Lexington, Louisville, Moorhead, Owensboro, Paducah, Prestonsburg, and Somerset. Approximately 9,500 appointments were made that started today and are going to go through April the 30th. Next round of appointments are opening up on Monday, April 19th. Those will be for May 3rd. And then a new day of appointments will open up each day at midnight, Monday through Friday. And more than just providing unemployment services, there were employers on hand with applications ready to go in Lexington, Covington, and Moorhead today. And we know in Elizabethtown that there will be opportunities like that tomorrow. From everything that we have heard, and we called and checked in on these, we had legislators stop by too. Things are going smoothly. People are really happy to see somebody. This is really going to help us, given the amounts of fraud that have started really since December, and trying to find the needle that is the real claim from the haystack of all the fraudulent claims that have come in. So more important now than ever. With that, we'll have Amy Cubbage give the rest of the update.
Good afternoon. First, some good news on the federal tax front. If you had filed your federal taxes before Congress had passed the new law that exempted the first $10,200 of your unemployment earnings from 2020, you definitely do not need to file an amended return. The IRS has announced it'll start processing those refunds automatically in May. Now, if you had waited to file, you can claim that on your return and get that immediately. But if you had already filed, good news for you, the IRS doesn't need you to do anything. Now, an update on the UI system. As everyone knows, we announced last Thursday that we were shutting down the system and bringing it back up on Tuesday morning. That has been done, and so far, so good. Letters have gone out to claimants giving them their new PINs and step by step instructions on how to re register for the system. And already 30,000 people approximately have been able to do that. Now, if you have not received your letter yet and it's time for you to claim your benefits, and you need to, or you otherwise need to access your account, you can call our helpline at 502 564 2900, and staff will be able to reset your PIN for you once they verify your identification. I know the governor has mentioned this. We have all hands on deck right now and have UI staff who are pulled from all other duties right now, answering the phones for those PIN resets and to help you get registered. We have even staff from other cabinets assisting. So it is a huge team effort to help you get back into that system. Our phone assistance line holds anywhere between 100 and 130 callers at any time. If you call that line and it picks up and puts you on in that line to be answered, you will be answered. If all the lines are currently in use, you'll hear a message to try again later. If you keep trying, once you get on there, you will be helped that day. Our hours right now are Monday through Friday, 7 through 8. People are working until 9, but we are not putting people in line for being answered after 8 to ensure that everyone who gets picked up can be assisted. Saturday is 9 to 5, and Sunday is 1 to 5. They've already helped over 10,000 people since yesterday morning. And remember, please, the only assistance you will get from this line is assistance in resetting that PIN and in getting re-registered on the site. Other help with your claim can't be offered on the line at this time. And then another reminder, if you call and get a telephonic PIN, when you get a letter with a PIN, that PIN is no longer valid. When you called on the telephone and got a new PIN, that would have reset the PIN. So make sure to use the one you got on the phone and not in the mail if you call for one. And again, if you don't want to wait on hold, wait for those letters. Those have gone out. Those should be to you soon. If it's not time to request your benefits, you're better off actually waiting for that letter. Now, a few things to remember once you've received that PIN, you do have to register as a new user in the system, even if you had already registered on the updated portal. I think we've got a slide for this. When you get that letter, it has those step-by-step instructions, and we have a tutorial video up. But if you look here at the slide at the top where the arrow is pointing, it shows you where to register. And this is uiclaimsportal.ky.gov. Don't go to any old links you may have saved. You need to make sure to use this portal. Once you do this and you register, you're going to create a new 12-character strong password that's got a mix of letters, numbers, and special characters. You will have to verify your email, and you'll get an access code that will be sent to your email. There's been some confusion on this. You will need to get that access code every time you access the site. It's not just for the initial registration, and it will be a different access code every time. So don't save that access code. There's no need to do that. The next time you go to log into the site, it will generate a new access code that you will get from your email. The new 8-digit PIN that you get can also be used on the telephone claiming system. So if you claim your benefits by telephone, you will use the PIN for that. Now, once you get in, please review all the information on your account to make sure it's correct. And if you get in there and see that the bank account information is wrong, you can select a paper check. We're not allowing updates right now to bank account information, but you will be able to make sure you get a paper check. Now, once you are registered, when you go back, don't hit register again, just log in as normal and you'll go through that process. And before I leave, I just want to give one final note, a giant thank you to all of the staff who worked over the past week to make all of this happen. IT staff in Labor, Education, and Workforce Development and the Commonwealth Office of Technology worked all weekend, and they were able to add these features in just 4 days. As a comparison, in California last fall, when they had fraud issues and had to take their site down, they were down for 2 weeks. So it is truly extraordinary the work that our team has been able to do, as well as standing up this new call center to help everyone get re-registered. Staff were doing trainings in the evenings to make sure that they could help you. We know that your extraordinary work and hours over the past 13 months has not gone unnoticed. We know it's been a tough 13 months, and the fact that you could dig down deep to go the extra mile this weekend is truly appreciated. So thank you so much for your dedication.
And with that, we will open up to questions. We will start with Aaron Kelly from Spectrum News.
Good afternoon, Governor. As you know, the Lexington Herald Leader reported today that according to a state inspector general report, some state employees improperly collected unemployment benefits. Can you comment on what's been done in response to that investigation and that report? And what is your message to Kentuckians who themselves are still awaiting their benefits?
Well, I ordered that investigation because when we learned that some employees might have been getting on the systems themselves to process their own unemployment claims, it was absolutely unacceptable. I think it's unethical. And I asked the Inspector General to do a full and independent investigation and get us that information. She did, and significant action has been taken, including termination of some of those individuals, depending on the culpability of them and the level of their actions. Is people taking advantage of their position, and it was not okay, and it denigrates the hard work of every other UI employee that showed up to do the right thing each and every day. What I tell everybody who's waiting is we don't accept this type of behavior. And that's why we not only ordered the investigation, but we released the report itself and we took action. You know, sadly, any place that there are dollars and there is access, you sometimes see these things. It's how we respond to it that I hope builds trust amongst Kentuckians. Debbie Yetter from the Courier-Journal.
Hi, Governor. The Biden administration announced the release of funds for child care assistance to states today, including about $763 million for Kentucky. Do you know how you're going to allocate that money and how soon child care providers might expect to see some of it?
Not yet. All these things have very specific guidance, but let me say I'm thrilled that money has been provided by the federal government. Between dollars that the state has put up and now between multiple tranches of federal dollars that have come in, we have a chance not just to save child care from the difficulties of the pandemic, but to build it up. Debbie, you more than most know how we were suffering in Kentucky as far as a number of child care facilities versus the overall need before this pandemic. And so to me, this is an example of how we have an opportunity with federal dollars, with where I think our economy is going, maybe with how we can think about things differently, having been through this experience, to do so much better moving forward. So the better Kentucky that I not only dream about, I think is out there. The opportunity that's just waiting for us is going to require us to have more and better childcare options than ever before. That's how we ultimately work to do so many things, from gender equality in terms of pay and access and other opportunities to so many other things that we should have achieved as a society right now. And if we want to take our position as a leader in the post-COVID economy, ensuring we have not adequate but world-class childcare is something we have to do. So I think these dollars can be transformational, and it's going to be our job to make sure that they are. John Boyle from WFPL.
Hi, Governor. I had a question about the vaccine goal of 2.5 million. We are, as you mentioned, about 1.6 right now. But the question I have has to do with just, the demand that you sense is out there. A lot of the populations that needed it early on, such as the nursing homes, they've already gotten it. So I'm wondering if you have any concerns about there being a demand in the coming weeks for such a sizable total, And if so, which subsets of the population you see that coming from?
So I think we've been steady in terms of people showing up to get vaccinated. And remember, we've had new priority groups open up too, really only in the last couple of weeks. We've been seeing really anywhere from 125,000 to 130,000 people showing up every week for the last 3 weeks. But what we really need is we need more than that. Now, we can hit our goal, and we will hit our goal of 2.5 million, even if 125,000 people show up each week. But with these variants out there, with them impacting groups that previously weren't harmed, now is the time, and the need is there too. And with the positivity rate creeping up a little bit and the numbers creeping up a little bit from what we see, it ought to create the impetus for people to show up and get vaccinated. Now, with that said, every week we've got to try harder, and we've got to try new things to get people vaccinated. So one step, John, that we've taken is we're going to be moving some of our larger vaccination sites into more areas in people's communities. We're trying to get this vaccine in more places that you just regularly show up to do other things in your daily life. So every pharmacy, so if you're going to get a prescription, get your shot while you're there. Every grocery store, if you're showing up to buy groceries, get your vaccine there. And we're also doing more mobile clinics than ever before. We've been on university campuses, and we're working on building up a fleet of mobile units that can get around. So as we go further, and listen, I think we can hit our 2.5 million adults vaccinated goal before we hit the truly hesitant. But as we go further, yeah, it's going to be harder and harder every week, but it's going to be more and more important because we're going to be that much closer to reaching herd immunity. So our challenge is going to get more difficult every week, but this is the challenge we really wanted. I'm positive, even though there are days it's hard to be positive. I'm positive because we put in the work. We beat COVID. We beat this thing that's taken 6,200 lives over 14 months. So we welcome the challenge, but we'll always take ideas, and I want to be open on that. Ideas on how to reach people, ideas on new ways to do things, within what we're allowed to do. We're willing to try a lot of things if it gets people, more people vaccinated. Chad Hedrick from WKYT.
Hi, Governor. I wanted to circle back really fast to the Inspector General's report. Do you know if these employees who allegedly collected these benefits, if they could face any charges from this?
So that'll be up to any prosecutor that chooses to look at it. We've certainly had some inquiries. Having formerly been a prosecutor, I don't want to speculate. That's not what you're supposed to do when others may be looking at it. But certainly, if someone was not qualified for unemployment, knew they were not qualified, and went in and got themselves unemployment, then you could see how that could be a violation of the law. But again, I don't want to step over anyone who may review it and the conclusions they may have. But it's unacceptable. Let me just say, from a state government side or from a human being side, unacceptable. And that's why we wanted the independent report. That's why we wanted to make sure that we took action. And this is how we want to make sure we respond when things go wrong, because anywhere you are, there are times that people will do the wrong thing. How we respond, I think, shows our values and our commitment to doing right. Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. The CDC reported today with CNN that 5,800 fully vaccinated people have caught COVID anyway. Do you know how many of those were in Kentucky? And if so, is there any sort of trend that you saw among those infected?
Yeah, I saw that report through CNN, and they described it with the overall number, and I think this is important for people to hear, with the overall number of infections, that it is, I think they called it rare. They may have called it exceedingly rare. I don't want to put that word out there if that's not what they didn't say. If you've been vaccinated to get it, but I think what they say is it depends in part on the community transmission. In other words, if you live in a place where you're vaccinated, but a whole lot of other people aren't and COVID's going crazy, your likelihood of getting it may be higher. We know we've had at least a couple, and I say that because the example of the nursing home in Eastern Kentucky that we talked about, certainly in those instances, the people that had gotten the vaccine that got COVID didn't get sick, and that's really important. But let us check to see if we have a set of numbers on that. If we do, now I haven't seen them. If we do, we're happy to share them, and that's our job to share them. But we know it's happened. We know it's happened. But again, I think in Kentucky as well, it is rare, if not shown by how our cases have truly plunged since we've been getting widespread vaccinations, though we ought to be wary about where our cases may be going right now. Tom Latek from Kentucky Today.
Thank you, sir. There's been more talk, even by Moderna and Pfizer, about turning the vaccine into an annual booster situation, like with the flu, so that you could get a shot annually. In your conversations with Dr. Stack, have you heard anything new along these lines?
Well, I think Pfizer's CEO today talked about the potential need for a booster somewhere between 6 months and 12 months. But I think that the truth is we don't know, right? The first people who got vaccinated didn't get vaccinated that long ago. But I really like that they want to be prepared. And I think part of this is we need people effectively vaccinated until we reach herd immunity, right? And if that's going to take boosters until enough people overall get vaccinated, then good. But again, I like that they're being prepared. I like that they're being prepared in case that we need boosters like the flu shot. But the more people who get vaccinated, the less deadly this virus will be, even if it sticks around. So I'm glad they're doing it. But again, if we all do our part, I think that as we move forward, we'll find out. But the harm, I think, only decreases when we all get this vaccine, and there's nowhere for this virus to go. Stu Johnson from WEKU.
Hi, Governor. Thank you. In the figures that you announced this afternoon, with the 834 new cases and 116 for the 18 and under age group, do you know roughly what number are, say, under age 40? And are you seeing increased hospitalizations in that age group?
So we know we're seeing increased hospitalizations nationwide in that age group. Let me see how and what statistics we have on that in Kentucky. I'm not sure we've ever broken that down. I did talk to our folks today that the 18 and under, that number was important when some believed that kids couldn't get the virus. And we know that they can. But now I think some of the statistics that are important are 50 and under, for instance, to show how this virus is changing, because it can't get to most people that are vaccinated, and more older Kentuckians are vaccinated. And that means it's going to spread primarily among the unvaccinated, which statistically right now are younger Kentuckians. So we're looking for the best way to show that in the numbers. And I think we're going to be able to do that, I hope in the week, but certainly in the weeks to come. But no question with these variants, what you see nationwide, you end up seeing in Kentucky. It's impacting younger people, but it's making them sicker too. And if our numbers are picking up on hospitalizations and the rest, and they are starting to tick up, it can only happen if it's ultimately impacting, at least as a percentage, younger Kentuckians, given the percentage of older Kentuckians that are vaccinated. But we'll see if we can get that number for you. And I'll add on to Tom's last comment about boosters, is that the system is built. And the whole lot of people through, but then to get it out in your normal. With our first rounds of vaccinations, we hope everyone has the ability to vaccinate if they're not already doing it. In the future, we ought to be set up for your grocery, your pharmacy, any number of other options to where if it has to become a semi-regular part of our lives, it'll be just like all the other things that we do. Chris Otts from WDRB.
Thank you, Governor. On the unemployment PIN resets, I think Ms. Cubbage said that 30,000 people had reset their PINs. Just curious, what percentage of that? In other words, how many people total were mailed letters? What's the universe of people that could be resetting their PINs? About the phone line, I called myself today and checked, and I pressed 1 and it said too busy, call back later, and it hangs up on you. I think you said that call center is only going to be open for 10 days. Curious, what is the plan for people who are unable to get through on that phone line? Is there a certain amount of time, where this where you can deal with this PIN issue and get your account re-registered, or do people have as long as indefinitely to deal with it? And then finally, I was just wondering, I don't expect you to be able to resolve this right now, but I've not been able to get the labor cabinet people to respond to some really basic questions I have about some numbers they gave me about unemployment, and it's been a while, and I know that they're swamped with requests right now, but I was just hoping, could I get your commitment to have them help me with that? Thank you.
Well, I'll need to see the questions and know that they're ones that we have answers to, but I will take a look at it. Amy, is it about, it's 30,000, about 10% of those that are going to need to reset their passwords? Yeah, so about 300,000 people. Now, the crush on the phone line is going to be the biggest right now because virtually nobody calling has received their letter. When you receive your letter, the instructions are in the letter to where you can reset your password without making that phone call at all. And we have 150 people that are answering these phones every day, which means we are going to be able to get through folks and get them reset. Now, we set for 10 days, but we will go longer if that's what it takes to get people their help. Well, I'm the governor. We're going to go longer if that's what it takes to get people their help. And Amy, how long do they have? Do they have an indefinite? And they have an indefinite period of time to get it done. Listen, we'll get this piece done. I hate that we had to do this, but we had to do it. It was either that or people's money were stolen. This ought to help us too and weed out those fraudulent claims. And so we can really focus down on this. With 150 people answering phone calls, with there being in-person appointments, I think we are turning a corner. It doesn't mean that we'll get there overnight. And to those that are still frustrated, be frustrated with me. I mean, I'm ultimately the captain of the ship, and while I was given an office and an infrastructure held up by popsicle sticks, we are working as hard as we can to make it work. And the people who work in unemployment have shown up every single day in the hardest circumstances imaginable to try to make this work. So again, please thank them for their service, even if you're frustrated. I'll take the heat for what we need to continue to do. But again, we're going to get it done. Now, with that said, we will help you with your unemployment, but there are employment opportunities right now, more opportunities than we've had in a long time. Get your vaccine. There are a lot of good jobs out there. This is our chance all personally to turn a corner too, and to step in an even better era of our lives with so much ahead of us. Andrea Ash from WHAS with our final question. No pressure.
Thanks, Governor. I actually have a couple of questions. I don't know if you want to defer to Ms. Amy Cubbage. It's on unemployment. Do you guys have any idea, and sorry if I missed this, well, it might be, have any idea about how many people have been helped today now that unemployment offices have been opened, either seen or had their issues resolved? Another question that we have is, do you have a top tier specialist at each one of those regional offices? And then finally, do you guys have any gauge on the number of outstanding federal and military claims and the number of people assigned to deal with those?
Okay, so I believe when we look at number of people helped today, it'd be 9,500 divided by 14. which I don't have the calculator in front of me at the moment, but we scheduled 14 days, 9,500 appointments, and that should, but that's where, I'm sorry, we're not necessarily open on the weekends. So Amy, do you have? Okay, we'll get you the number for today. It'll be the total number of work days over the next 2 weeks, 9,500 divided by that piece. We do have someone at each location that can handle the most difficult parts. Now, that doesn't mean everybody who's seeing people are, but we have a supervisor that is able to come by and provide that type of assistance. Again, we've heard today that things have gone really well. But we also have to understand that a good appointment doesn't just mean that somebody is approved, because sometimes people don't qualify. I got asked a question about an individual the other day, and we can't ever talk about that, but that person doesn't qualify under federal law, and there's nothing we can do to make that up. We want to help, but we can't. There are other appointments where people might not have all of the things that they need, but they do get to talk to somebody about how to get it done and hopefully get the explanation of what they can do online to get it done. So we believe that each of those appointments is ultimately successful, but whether or not somebody qualifies is a question of law that's been set up that's out of our control. Did I miss any questions, Amy? All right. I want to thank everybody for their hard work. There's reason to be concerned. There's reason to be concerned with so many other states seeing an uptick in cases, that we are so close to the end, and we committed that we're going to get everybody to the finish line. And now that we have vaccines, there's no excuse not to get everyone to the finish line. Let's make sure that a family doesn't have to grieve because we weren't willing to wear a mask for the last month and a half. We weren't willing to do what it takes to get there. We weren't willing to get our own vaccine, not because we were against it, but we just didn't think this thing would hurt us in particular. Let's make sure that we continue to do the right things. And when it comes to masks, we're willing to do it however long it takes. We've made the goal. We've set the commitment. 2.5 million adults, and we're going to be able to remove capacity restrictions on so much. That means your summer can be a heck of a lot more normal. We're not trying to set a goal to force anybody to do something. That just is when it becomes safer. It's math and science. Math and science aren't political. They're the mandatory courses that you've got to take when you're a student because, again, math and science are math and science. So, folks, we need your help. Get vaccinated. Help other people get vaccinated. Help us reach this goal. Help defeat an evil virus that's killed 6,200 people. Most of us believe that's a patriotic duty. This being the toughest enemy we've ever faced, banding together to get it done. Now again is the fourth quarter. We know we can win. We know victory's on the horizon. Let's just get it done. Thank you all very much. We'll see you on Monday.